I'm about to share 5 of the most valuable lessons I've learned over my 25 years of playing the drums. These lessons will be about playing, about money, and about drum gear. If you don't know me, my name is Brett. I've been playing drums since I was a kid. I do this whole drum thing for a living in a bit of an unconventional way, but I will talk about that later in the video. For now, let's just start with one of the most important things to learn about drumming. Playing the drums and learning how to play drums is actually easy. All you need to do is break drumming down into a few different things, and this includes subdivisions, linear playing, non-linear playing, and dynamics. So subdivisions is just how you count notes and how you group notes together. By understanding subdivisions, you understand the building blocks of how to learn something that you hear. So you get eighth notes or eighth note triplets or quarter notes or 16th notes or 32nd notes. The term linear means that no drum is played at the same time. So you don't play your hand and your foot at the same time together. You just play one thing at a time. Snare drum, high tom, floor tom. That's linear. Non-linear is the opposite, so that's when you do play things at the same time. So drumming is either linear or it is non-linear, and by separating those two things, you can actually train your ear to recognize things that you hear when drummers play them. So if you want to learn a drum fill that your favorite drummer plays, you can first decide, okay, is that linear or non-linear? If it's a linear pattern, you can easily just learn that by slowing that down and just hearing which drum comes first and then what drum comes next. If it's non-linear, it's a bit trickier, but then you have to look at their hands and their feet and see what is actually being played together. In understanding linear and non-linear, all drumming just easily starts to become categorizable. I think that's a word. You can just put things into different boxes, and having those boxes to pull out makes things easier to learn. Dynamics just refers to how loud or soft you play. If there was no dynamics in drumming, everything would sound the same. So putting in dynamics just adds emotion and musicality to whatever you play on the drum. I should also mention rudiments here, but rudiments also just fall under linear or non-linear and subdivisions. So that's like drumming in a nutshell. Obviously it's way more complicated than that, but if you learn drums this way, you should be on a good path to getting quite good at playing. However, you're going to get pro drummers and you're going to get non-pro drummers, and they all learn the same way. Why do pro drummers sound better than you and me? And this brings us on to the next lesson, how to sound like a pro on the drums. It basically comes down to two things. The first big one, control. Drummers with great control leave exactly the amount of space that they need between notes. They also have excellent control over their dynamics. So if you play a drum groove quite loud, and then if you play that same drum groove soft, most of the time what happens with most of us is the soft version of that drum groove starts to sound less powerful, less distinct, whereas a drummer with great control knows exactly how to push the energy even playing at any dynamic level. That then ties into the next thing that makes pro drummers better than us is feel. This is when you hear a groove being played and I could play the same groove as them, but when they play it, it sounds so much better. That's because they have a better sense of feel, and this just comes with musicality. Feel's quite hard to teach. The main point to remember here is that most pro drummers are pro musicians first before being pro drummers, and because they see themselves as pro musicians, usually their feel and their control is a lot better. Speaking of pro drummers, you don't actually need to be at a super high skill level to make a decent amount of money with the drums. That brings me on to the next lesson that I've learned over my whole time playing drums, is how to actually make a good living with this instrument, with this passion, with this skill that I have of playing drums. I think the thing that everyone grows up believing is that to be a pro drummer and to actually make a living from being a drummer, you have to just play gigs, you have to get on stage and play in front of big crowds. But if that's your goal and that's all you're doing, for most of us, it doesn't really work.
You're broke! You're poor!
The big lesson is you have to diversify your income. So instead of just gigging, you have to have a few streams of income coming from different things that you do. And that could be playing gigs throughout the week. On the weekend, it includes maybe teaching drums. What I've learned personally, and this is advice coming from me, it's not just general advice, is as a drummer, if you want to do drums for a living, the best way of making income when not gigging is getting on your computer, getting on the internet, and doing work online. Before I explain exactly how that works, just here's the theory behind it. If you have a gig on weekends or at nighttime events during the week, what are you doing in the daytime? What are you doing on Monday morning at 8 a.m? You have time there, so you can be at home and do something on your laptop to earn money to kind of supplement your income in that time where you're not practicing, doing rehearsals, or playing gigs. So for me, I work as a writer. I've always been somewhat good at writing, and I've been writing blog posts for clients for years at this point. This includes blog posts for Roland, for Drumeo, a few other clients with various websites. How did I get that work? I just emailed them and asked. And as I did that, I built up a portfolio. The bigger my portfolio got, the bigger my clients got. So now that's actually what I do for most of the time, apart from teaching people drums and running this whole YouTube channel, teaching you guys. It's just one example of how you can use your computer and internet access to just do some sort of freelance task that will supplement your income when you're not playing gigs and doing the whole playing on stage thing. You could have other skills. You could be good at graphic design. You could be a good video editor. All you need to do is find clients on YouTube that need thumbnails that need to be made or videos that need to be edited. This seems like it's like outside of being a pro drummer, but if you are still in the music industry with all these tasks and gigs and jobs that you're doing, it still feels like you're doing drums for a living. I mean, that's how I feel. I write about drums. I write about drum gear. I write about drum lessons. I teach people through writing about things. I help other channels with this, like YouTube scripts, and a lot of them are actually drummers. I'm going to pull Zach Grooves into the picture, and I'm going to explain to you how he's making money while he's gigging with Everything Yes, while traveling around the world. So here is Zach's YouTube channel. Obviously, he gets a lot of money from like AdSense, so he posts these videos and he gets views, but most of his money doesn't actually come from that. If you go onto one of his videos, the main thing you need to look for here is actually the description of each video. And if you look here, he's got a whole bunch of links. So his income streams from looking at these links. So if you look here at his descriptions, there are a few ways that he is making income, and it is diversifying the amount of money he's getting in while gigging with Everything Yes and traveling the world. So let's just check this out. Firstly, Mingus shirts. That is physical merch that he is selling and sending out to people, same as his sticks. He's got a pair of signature sticks with vinyl. You can buy those on this website. He'll send them to you. The next thing, which is a huge money maker for him, would be this ebook that he's done called 30 Dirty Grooves. So with this ebook, it sells for $30, and I'm assuming it gets between 100 and 1,000 sales per month. You can just work out how much money that is. Then he has Patreon, which is like a subscription thing where he gives you like locked content for the people that pay monthly to see that. And then he's got a Drumeo trial here, which basically this is called an affiliate link. If you click here and you sign up for Drumeo, Zach gets paid a commission for every person that does that. So that's how the YouTubers make money. It's exactly how I make money on YouTube, just on a much smaller scale than Zach. But that is just another way of, while like trying to make a living as a drummer, it doesn't mean you just have to go play gigs and kill yourself playing every single night at bars and clubs that you don't want to play as. So the two examples there was, I mean, I work as a writer and no one really knows that I even do that. So you don't need an audience to do that. Whereas with my channel and Zach's YouTube channels, you need a bit of an audience to start generating income there. But those are just ideas of how you can make money with drums. Not everyone's out to make money playing drums though. What if you're just a hobbyist? What if you just want to learn drums to play them for fun? The next lesson is, if that is you, where do you learn how to play drums? Like, how do you actually learn how to play drums? And lately, with the internet just getting as big as it is, and with online connectivity getting as big as it is, there's this big discussion over whether you should get drums in person with a teacher, or you should just sign up for one of the many drum websites that will teach you how to play drums just straight from your home. My honest advice about this, and this is what I learned as a teacher myself when I was teaching 50 kids a week before I started working as a writer, there is nothing better than an in-person teacher. No online platform exists that will give you the same input and output that you get from that. It is far better for you if you really want to get into drumming and learn drumming and get better at drumming consistently. It is far better to have an in-person teacher, because they can cater to your exact needs. With an online platform, they don't know your personal story. They don't know if you are playing the snare drum in the wackiest way possible. They just have a bunch of lessons for you to go through in a library. So if possible, rather invest in in-person lessons before going to online. However, I know it's not possible for all of us. A, it might be cheaper to get online lessons, or B, you might not even have an available drum teacher around you. So if you have to get online lessons, which platform is the best? I'd suggest Drumeo because it has the most value for money, but there are a few other options like Mike'sLessons.com, Orlando Drummer, Drumbeats Online. To actually learn to play drums, you need to have gear, right? Drum gear, that's like one of the biggest things of being a drummer, having cymbals and drums and stands. Here's a big lesson that I learned about drum gear. It's actually probably the biggest one I've learned, is cymbals are more important than drums. What do I mean by that? Well, cymbals can get quite expensive. Drum kits can get quite expensive. So if you have a budget, how much are you spending on cymbals and how much are you spending on drums? You should always spend more on the cymbals rather than the drums, because that's going to affect your overall sound the most. Here's 2 clips showing the difference. So here's a clip of someone playing budget cymbals. Here's a clip of someone playing pro cymbals. Then let's look at a clip of a budget drum kit and then a pro drum kit. The difference was way bigger with the cymbals than it was with the drums, so that just proves the point. Cymbals can make or break your overall drum sound, whereas drums, all you need is high quality drum heads and you just need to tune them well by your ear, and you can get them sounding quite great. Whereas with cymbals, you can't actually change how they sound. So that's my biggest lesson I can give you in terms of drum gear. Rather pay $1,000 for cymbals and use a second-hand kit rather than paying like $1,000 for a kit and using $200 cymbals. Always go cymbals first. I mentioned Drumeo earlier and how I think that's the best platform to go to if you want online lessons. However, it may not cater to you the best for what your needs are. If you want to know more about the other ones that I mentioned after Drumeo, check this video out.